Hi folks, Ken Ring of www.predictweather.com. Today is the 20th of April, and at 4:25 p.m. today the sun goes into the sign of Taurus, and it'll be there until the 20th of May. It changes signs every month, so there's 12 signs. It goes through 12 of them in the course of the year, but the moon changes signs every 2 days, and it's still in Cancer. There it is there. You can't actually see the sun because it's sitting behind the earth at the moment on my model, but the moon's in Cancer. It'll be there until about the 22nd. It's starting to speed up at the moment as it approaches the perigee, which is the point where it's closest to the earth, and it does that every 27 and a third days, and that'll be on the 25th, which is in 6 days time. Now it's perigee number 11, so more about that soon. I'm expecting some dramatic weather then. You always get that on the perigee. So let's wait and see. Now it appears that the rain system that was supposed to be over us by now, remember I was talking about this a couple of days ago, and it was coming through the Australian Bight, and it should have been here by about tomorrow or today, later today. Well, it's hit a roadblock in the sky in the form of a high pressure system just round the back of Tasmania, and it can't get through, and I think it may now reach us about 3 days late. Well, you get that sort of thing. The potential was there, but this thing sort of got in the way, but it'll still be here. That's why I like to give, between 1 and 3 days error in my forecasting, because that sometimes eventuates. It's the northern declination right now, of course. The moon is the lowest in our sky, but highest in the northern hemisphere sky, and usually nothing dramatic happens over the northern, right on the northern declination, which was yesterday. Usually after the northern declination, a lot of places down here in the southern hemisphere, they get rain because of the warmer air that's to the north of us being shoved down this way by the moon, and of course there's that evaporation that occurs and rain comes out of it. The rain has to fall, can't stay up there, and it eventually does. So I think all the pointers are at it coming. If not this week, then what sometimes happens is this kind of stuff, so it saves itself for the perigee in 6 days' time. If there's a perigee close and it's marshalling all these energies, all this turbulence, it kind of grabs whatever rain is around and it holds it until it makes a big system, and then it drops it. Well, it's number 11, which means it's the 11th closest for the year, which isn't really all that powerful, but you never underestimate perigees. That's what I found when I lived on a house bus for 10 years. Every perigee is an event, and 3 days after the perigee, this time, is a king tide, plus a full moon, and that will be on the 29th. So I'm expecting something happen to it round about then. I'm certainly expecting some cyclonic activity up the top of Queensland over the next week. Some of it's forming right now, and then some good rain will come out of that for Brisbane, even a bit of flooding. I even think down at the bottom, down South Australia, is going to get some flooding as well. So watch out for that, you Brisbaneites, because the water won't be able to get away in the rivers because of the higher tides, and when the rain does come down, it'll bank back and come over the low-lying land. It's funny, sometimes they say, oh, this and this is happening, and it hasn't happened for 20 years. This is the first time in 20 years. How many times have you heard that? Well, they're saying it again for the water from the Paroo River in southwest Queensland, which has now got to the Darling River, the first time in 20 years. And that's the tide cycle, only they don't seem to know that. Well, I know that, because that's what I used to describe this flooding in my almanac. I have it here. Here it is for Queensland. Don't know if you can see that, but all this here is flooding at this time of the year on the Queensland side of things. And if you have that book, it's on page 31. Why am I telling you that? Well, it's not so that I can skite about it. It's to tell you people who take your own records for your own farms or your own operations, that if you have the records, look back a tidal cycle between 19 and 20 years, and if there's a bit of flooding exactly on that tidal repeat, it could come again, and heavy rain systems. So that's what my method is basically. It's the weather repeating as to tide cycles. Anyway, we'll be talking more about that later. Cheers, thanks for watching. I'm Ken Ring, predictweather.com.